Harvey Levin. Well, Harvey, let's go to you first. You guys had the first picture of Kate a week or so ago, taken in a car with her mother, we believe on the school run. I know she's been to see the kids at school since then as well. She didn't, I have to say, Harvey, look much like the Kate we saw in the beaming Mother's Day picture, where she looked a picture of radiant health. In fact, quite the opposite. You've dealt with celebrities and royals for your entire career. What do you make of all this?
Well, I think I haven't seen this kind of bungling since prosecutors handed O.J. Simpson that glove. I mean, it has been a fiasco. Not just what they said, which got them in trouble, but what they didn't say. I mean, they're putting out pictures that are edited, and then when they're asked to release the unedited photo, they refuse. I mean, what are they expecting? That there will be conspiracy theories, and I don't even want to call them conspiracy theories because people are just not buying the official story because of the way the palace has handled it. And when you look at the picture that we posted, you know, there are people now, they're so skeptical, they're reviewing it like the famous Zapruder film that was shot when John F. Kennedy was assassinated, where you can see bricks outside the car that don't necessarily match with the way the bricks look from inside the car. So the trust of Buckingham Palace has just been obliterated because of this. And Piers, I mean, the idea that major news outlets are treating what the palace puts out the way they treat what comes out of Iran and North Korea with kill notices is just breathtaking.
Let's just pause for a second and ask the obvious question. What on earth is going on with Piers Morgan and the British media right now? Because the moment you step back from the noise, the shouting, the outrage farming and the performative indignation, what you actually see is not a royal scandal. You see a media credibility crisis. And that crisis is exactly what Harry and Meghan have been warning about for years. Not in vague terms, not as a personal vendetta, but as a structural problem in the way the British press, the palace and certain broadcasters work together to control narratives, suppress uncomfortable facts and attack anyone who challenges the system. And the Kate photo controversy has just ripped that curtain wide open. On Piers Morgan's show, Harvey Levin from TMZ, not exactly a soft interviewer or a naive observer, comes in and basically says what a lot of people are thinking but aren't being allowed to say on mainstream UK television. He says the palace has bungled this whole situation so badly that trust has been obliterated. Not weakened, not dented, obliterated. And that word matters. Because trust is the only currency institutions, like the monarchy and the media, actually have. They don't run on truth, they don't run on transparency, they run on public belief. And once that belief collapses, everything else starts to wobble. What Harvey points out is devastatingly simple. The palace released an edited photograph of Kate that was meant to reassure the public. But instead of reassuring people, it triggered international news agencies to issue what are called kill notices, which is what they normally do when a government like Iran or North Korea releases propaganda images. Let that sink in. The British royal household was treated by Reuters, AP and Getty the same way authoritarian states are treated when they manipulate information. That is not normal. That is not harmless. That is not internet hysteria. That is a massive institutional red flag. And instead of calming things down by being transparent, the palace did the exact opposite. They refused to release the original image. They refused to explain what was altered. They refused to clarify the timeline. They refused to give consistent information about Kate's whereabouts or condition. So people filled in the gaps, Not because they are conspiracy theorists, but because human beings naturally look for answers. But when it breaks, like it just did, you see the gears grinding in public. You see the contradictions. You see the panic. You see broadcasters scrambling to explain away what can't be explained. And this is why the reaction from certain media figures has been so unhinged. Because the story isn't, "Where is Kate?" The story is, "Why don't we trust what we're being told anymore?" The story is, "Why did global news agencies refuse palace content?" The story is, "Why is the press suddenly forced to admit that not everything coming from royal sources is reliable?" That is an existential threat to the media ecosystem that Piers Morgan exists inside of. So when you hear people shouting, "Leave the royals alone," or "Stop asking questions," or "This is dangerous speculation," what they're really saying is, please stop noticing how this system works. Please stop noticing that the same media that calls Harry and Meghan untrustworthy is now struggling to defend its own sources. Please stop noticing that the palace is behaving like a PR firm, not a public institution. Please stop noticing that credibility is collapsing in real time. And that's why Harry and Meghan are so threatening. Not because they are rebellious royals, or Hollywood celebrities, or grifters, or whatever insult is fashionable this week, but because they stepped outside the system and described it from the outside. They named the leaks. They named the collusion. They named the abuse. They named the incentives. And once something is named, it can't be unseen. So when Piers looks bewildered, offended, or defensive on air, it's because the ground under his feet is shifting. The story has moved beyond personalities. It has moved beyond Meghan. It has moved beyond Harry. It is now about whether British institutions still deserve automatic trust. And the fact that this conversation is happening at all means something fundamental has already changed. So, to all my squaddies watching this unfold and thinking this feels messy, confusing, and a little bit insane, you're not wrong. It is messy because a controlled narrative just lost control. It is confusing because the people who usually define reality are now reacting to it instead. And it feels insane because systems don't collapse quietly. They collapse loudly, defensively, and with a lot of shouting. And the irony of all of this is that Harry and Meghan didn't create this moment. They simply warned it was coming.